Hello everyone, my name is Sri Puji Astuti, study number 4121811041, Department of Business Management, Study Program of Business Administration. Today, I'm going to explain you how to describe about bar chart. A bar chart or bar graph is a diagrammatic representation of data in quantities. It is a common statistical tool used for data categorization, and it often highlights the differences in the numerical values of specific groups of data. Typically, the data in a bar graph is represented using vertical or horizontal bars that are plotted in accordance with the statistical value of each data category. This means that the length or height of each bar is proportionally equivalent to the data that it represents. In some instances, the bar chart can be plotted in clusters to show more than one measured group of data. Typically, one axis of the graph details specific data categories, while the other axis highlights the measured value for comparison. A bar chart represents data categories using vertical or rectangular bars that are proportional to numerical values. It highlights the relationship between data groups and statistical values. A bar graph details change in data groups over time. A bar chart shows the frequency of each data category. A bar chart can be categorized into two broad types, namely horizontal and vertical bar chart. These groups are further subdivided into the various categories such as vertical stack bar chart, horizontal group bar chart, and the like. A horizontal bar chart is a type of bar graph that represents data variables using proportional horizontal bars. Here, the data categories are placed on the vertical axis of the graph, while the numerical value is placed on the horizontal axis of the graph. Horizontal bar charts are often used to represent comparisons between nominal variables. With this tool, you can display long data labels using horizontal rectangles and still have enough room for textual information. Types of horizontal bar chart. First, horizontal stack bar chart. A horizontal stack bar chart is a graphical variation that is used for data segmentation. Typically, each horizontal bar in the graph represents a data category which is divided into subcategories using different colors within the same bar. This type of bar graph is extremely useful for viewing the different segments that make up a data variable. It helps you to know which subcategory contributes the most to a data variable. A horizontal group bar chart is a variant of a bar graph in which multiple data categories are compared and a particular color is used to denote a definite series across all data categories represented. It is also known as a cluster bar graph or a multi-set bar chart. In simple terms, a horizontal group bar chart uses horizontal bars to represent and compare different data categories of two or more groups. The data categories are placed side by side so that it is easy to identify and analyze the differences in the same category across data groups. A horizontal group bar chart is used for market performance evaluation and financial data comparison. A segmented horizontal bar chart is a type of stacked bar chart. It is also called a 100% stacked bar graph because each horizon bar represents 100 of the discrete data value and all the bars are of the same length, while numerical variants are indicated in percentage. Other types of horizontal bar chart include a reverse horizontal bar chart and a basic horizontal bar chart. A vertical bar graph is the most common type of bar chart, and it is also referred to as a column graph. It represents the numerical value of research variables using vertical bars whose lengths are proportional to the quantities that they represent. Types of vertical bar chart. A vertical stack bar chart is a type of bar graph that uses vertical bars to compare individual data variables. This statistical tool stacks data categories so that each bar shows the total number of subcategories that make up a dataset. A group vertical bar chart is also known as a cluster chart and shows information about different subcategories of a dataset. It can be used to show several subgroups of each category, however, if the chart contains too much information, it can become complicated and difficult to read and interpret. Just as a segmented horizontal bar graph, this method of data representation uses vertical bars to show total discrete variables in percentage. Steps in construction of bar graphs or column graph. On a graph, draw two lines perpendicular to each other, intersecting at 0. The horizontal line is x-axis and vertical line is y-axis. Along the horizontal axis, choose the uniform width of bar and uniform gap between the bars and write the names of the data items whose values are to be marked. Along the vertical axis, choose a suitable scale in order to determine the height of the bars for the given values. Frequency is taken along y-axis. Calculate the height of the bars according to the scale chosen and draw the bars. Bar graph gives the information of the number of children involved in different activities. Let's see an example. This is analyzed data from bar chart. According to the bar chart, that based on the percentage of households according to ownership status or ownership of residential buildings and area type, so that the most households have their own place in rural areas and the less are households that are contracted in rural areas. It shows households who live in their own house amounting to 60.68%. The remaining 39.32% of households live in non-house one's own. Households that occupy houses that do not belong to themselves consist of 24.83% occupy a rental house, 5.97% have contracts, and other 8.53%. A bar graph simplifies the data analysis process by helping you to manage large volumes of data easily. Plotting your research data in a bar chart will allow you to easily compare, visualize, and comprehend different data variables at a glance. Track data change. Another advantage of using a bar graph for statistical analysis is that it helps you to map out and track data changes over a period of time. Unlike other statistical tools like a pie chart that can only represent one dataset, a bar graph can be used to represent different data sets over a period of time. Track organizational growth patterns. A bar chart is extremely useful for tracking customer base growth or revenue generation patterns. Data comparison. In addition, a bar chart aids comparison across different sets of data because it clearly shows the relationship between each research variable and the fixed numerical value. It cannot be used for qualitative analysis. Bar graph cannot be used to represent research data gathered through qualitative observation methods. This is because a bar chart deals specifically with quantifiable data variables, that is, datasets that can be measured via numerical values. Complexity. Bar graphs can become extremely complex to understand, especially when dealing with large sets of data. It does not account for causative factors. A bar chart does not account for any causative factors, key assumptions, or patterns responsible for the statistical variation in a research data sample. It is almost impossible to avoid plotting out quantitative data on a bar graph or chart because this statistical tool adds data categorization for analysis. A researcher must understand the different types of bar graphs, the characteristics of each type, and more importantly, how to plot out a bar graph on a data spreadsheet. We have highlighted step-by-step guides for plotting different types of bar graphs, including horizontal bar graphs, segmented bar graphs, and cluster vertical graphs. Although bar graphs can become extremely complex to understand, they help a researcher to easily process large amounts of data and arrive at research outcomes. Thank you for watching.